Hello, and welcome back to Spittin' Sports with Lamar. I am Casey Lamar. That is David Mize. I'm coming at you from the 256. He is in the 205. But this is a special edition this week since it is Turkey Day on Thursday. It is Rivalry Week in college football. So we're putting this out a little early with a lot of games played on Thursday, Friday, and then, of course, throughout the weekend. But David, last week you went 7-2. I went 6-3. So you got another game on me. You're up 5 games now. You're up. Your record's now 75-40. Mine is now 70-45. So you got 5 games on me, but hopefully that'll change this week. You'll pick some bad games, and I'll pick the right way. But
there you go.
Let's go ahead and get started with the picks. So Thursday, November 22nd, we do have a top 25 team playing. You got number 18 Mississippi State traveling to Oxford, Mississippi, to take on the Ole Miss Rebels. 6:30 Central Time p.m. on ESPN. Mississippi State is minus 10.5.
The old Egg Bowl, I think this is going to be one of those that Mississippi State may go out and really put on a show and try to prove themselves in the state of Mississippi. So I see Mississippi State being big winners in this game.
Yeah, their defense is really good. We'll see how they hold up against who I still think is probably the best receivers in the SEC. Those 3 guys they got at Ole Miss they're crazy. But they just can't keep up with everybody when all is said and done at this point. Mississippi State's arguably the best defense in the SEC. The offense, it's been anytime they play conference team, it hasn't shown up, even though they've been winning games. But I like the Bulldogs too. This game always seems to fall right on Thanksgiving. Always seems to be the team you expect not to win wins. But I'm going with the Mississippi State Bulldogs. I'm going with you. I'll take the Bulldogs to beat the Rebels. All right, on to Friday. You got games all day Friday. But the second game out of 13 here, you got number 14 Texas at Kansas, 11 a.m. Fox Sports 1 is the carrier for that game. Texas is minus 14.5 at Kansas.
Well, I think this is going to be one of those games that Kansas has their mind on Les Miles next year. And so I see Texas winning this one pretty easily.
Yeah, Kansas, was it last year they finally beat Texas for the first time in 30 some odd years. There's a reason they've only won 1 out of 35 or whatever it is. Texas, they're too good for Kansas. Kansas, it'll be a couple years before we really see what Les Miles can get going there, if anything. So I'm with you there. Hook'em's going to take that game over the Jayhawks. Game 3, you've got the number 9 UCF Knights at the South Florida Bulls. 3:15 p.m. kickoff on ESPN. UCF, I just found the line for that one, is minus 14 on the road at USF.
This might end up being a pretty good game, especially with UCF coming off their win against Cincinnati. This might be a game that, UCF is maybe not got their mind in it as well as they should. A kind of a letdown game, if you will. And South Florida is a decent team. So I think this is going to be a good game, but I think the Central Florida pulls it out of the team.
Yeah, that was a big surprise last night. They jumped Ohio State in the rankings. Huge surprise. They're all up in arms, or not up in arms, but they're all excited. Oh, we cracked the top 10. We jumped Ohio State. Still a long way. Everybody's got to pretty much fall for them to make the playoffs still. 14 on the road. USF has lost 4 in a row. It's their chance to kind of shine against the top 10 team. Closer than you would think, but the Golden Knights still get it done. Central Florida still gets the job done when all is said and done in that game on Friday. Game 4, you got this long way to decide in the Big 12 here. You got number 6 Oklahoma at number 13 West Virginia, 7 o'clock kickoff on ESPN. Oklahoma is minus two as of today.
This is going to be a really good game, and I think the difference in this game is going to come down to quarterback and it's going to come down to Kyler Murray. And this may be one of those games that really uh, shortens the Tua lead over Murray for the Heisman Trophy. He may make up a lot of ground in this game. I see him being very productive in this game, and I see Oklahoma pulling out the win.
Yeah, well, it's funny. I was seeing stats last week. Kyler Murray's actually caught Tua and surpassed him in like efficiency and things like that. He's actually passed Tua in a lot of the stats they look at to decide a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback. He's actually passed Tua at that point. I'm surprised nobody has really paid attention to that. But West Virginia, a tough loss last week. They have to win to get to the Big 12 championship. But if they win the Big 12 championship, the Big 12 chances of playoff are over. Both these teams score at a high rate. Obviously, it's the Big 12. We're probably talking that Monday night football game between the Rams and the Chiefs. That's what we're talking about with this game here, Oklahoma and West Virginia. West Virginia's at home. I'm going to spring an upset here. I'm going Mountaineers to shock the world. Take the Big 12 out of the playoff championship conversation. Kyler Murray still going to have an amazing game. Should still be right there with Tua for the Heisman Trophy. Will Grier, he'll be in New York as well. But I'm gonna say Mountaineers shock the Sooners and give them their second loss of the season.
And when I say closing the gap, the stats he's passed, but there's still a pretty good gap when it comes to the voting for the Heisman, according to the.
That's what I'm saying. Is like, how did those people ignore the stats that they always use to talk about these players? But they just like Tua. They like the Hawaiian Punch. But okay, so game 5 here. You got number 16 Washington at number 8 Washington State. 7:30 p.m. on Fox. Washington State is -2.5 at home over the Huskies.
This is going to be a great game to watch as well, and a lot of good games for that Friday. But I don't know. Washington State's just kind of got this momentum thing going for them. So I'm going to go with the Cougars of Washington State.
Yeah, I agree with you. Cougars. They scored 55 points in a half last week. 55 points in the first half. They even scored off their own kickoff to the opposing team. So you just know things are going right for you. They're at home. Minshew, he should honestly probably be in New York just for the Heisman ceremony, just the way he's been able to play. The Cougars, in my opinion, by far the best team in the Pac-12. -2.5. Give me the Cougars by 10. I'll take the Cougars to beat the Huskies on Friday night. We're on to Saturday, the biggest day, another huge day in deciding the playoffs here and conference championships. But the first game on the list, a game that should not be at 11 a.m., Game 6, number 4 Michigan at number 10 Ohio State. 11 a.m. kickoff on Fox. Michigan is -4 on the road in the Horseshoe.
Ohio State's at that point now where they're just hanging on by a thread for the wheels falling off. Mm-hmm. And last week, they did everything they could to lose that game and didn't against Maryland. But I think the run stops here. I think Michigan's gonna beat them.
Yeah, I said it in my video Monday. Ohio State fans should be sending that Maryland quarterback gifts for Christmas this year. He missed a wide open receiver, that easy wide open receiver. Ohio State should have lost that game. It should have never even been in overtime, but that's beside the point. They pulled it out, but they're reeling. I really see why UCF jumped them, because Ohio State has not shown anything. They're still been flat since the Purdue loss, but they won. Michigan, they're playing like one of the best teams in the country. Of course, you got Clemson. Alabama has regressed, but they're still playing like Alabama. But Michigan is probably, right now, you could say they're the best team in the country, playing-wise. And the Wolverines, I think they're just way too much for Ohio State. With it being in the shoe, it'll be really close, I believe, when all is said and done. But Michigan, they're just too good when that game's over with for the Buckeyes. Give me go Big Blue, or go Blue, my bad. Go Blue, Michigan Wolverines. Game 7, Georgia Tech at number 5 Georgia, 11 a.m. kickoff on the SEC network. Georgia is minus 17 at home over the Yellow Jackets.
This may be one of those games that catches Georgia a little bit off guard. Georgia Tech runs that type of option offense that obviously gave Alabama some difficulty last week with the Citadel, and of course Georgia Tech's a much better team than the Citadel is. So I can see Georgia struggling a little bit, but in the end, I think Georgia's got way too many stars on their team, and 2-touchdown win by the Bulldogs. I can see.
We've seen Georgia Tech give Georgia fits in the past in games that were supposed to be non-competitive, and the Bulldogs just run them off the field. Minus 17, I don't think they're saying Georgia's going to run them off the field, but Georgia, they're just too good overall for Georgia Tech. I'll take the Bulldogs with you. Game 8, you got the Battle of the Sunshine State here in number 11, Florida at Florida State. 11 a.m. kickoff again on ABC. Florida is minus 6.5 on the road in Tallahassee.
Well, Florida State surprised me last week and pulled off that win. But I think I'm still going to stick with what I said before, and I'm just not going to pick Florida State anymore this year. So I'm going with the Gators.
I don't think you can pick them against Florida. Florida's better than they have been in the past. Besides that Missouri loss, that was kind of head-scratching. But Florida, they're just too good for Florida State. Florida State, I'm sorry to tell you, but I think your bowl run is over with. What was it, 36 in a row, 37 in a row?
Yeah.
I think that comes to an end on Saturday, and the Gators win very easily over the Seminoles in Tallahassee. Game 9, this is one that obviously you and I will be watching the most of.
Right.
You got Auburn at number 1 Alabama, 2:30 p.m. on CBS. Alabama is minus 24 at home.
Well, this is a rivalry game, but things are a little different this year when all your Auburn fans this morning are talking about their basketball program and how well they played Duke last night, still lost, versus the Iron Bowl. I think Alabama's going to win this game. I'm really hoping, especially because it's Auburn, that we start seeing the Alabama that we saw at the beginning of the year that could just name their score. They haven't been that way since Missouri. They've struggled a little bit. I know Tua was injured. I'm not sure that Tua's injury didn't kind of get in his head a little bit. But I saw a lot of positives in the second half of the Citadel game. There wasn't any positives in the first half, but the second half I saw some positives. So I think Alabama is going to come out and really play Auburn well, and they don't have any choice. They've got to, starting this weekend on out. It's a must win every game,
every week. Yeah, Alabama. I think I told you this yesterday. I was thinking a 31-10, 34-10. Which is right around the line. Auburn does have a defense, so I don't think Alabama just runs completely wild on the Tigers. But their offense has been so questionable that it's going to be hard for them to score much, if any at all. But I see another Alabama somewhere in that Missouri range to score. That was 39-10. I'm looking for 31-10, 34-10. But I think Alabama does get the job done in the Iron Bowl rather easily this year. And I saw this stat the other day. Alabama, they have to win the next 2 games to be 10-10 against Auburn over the last 20. A lot of people don't realize how dominant Auburn was at the start of the 2000s because Alabama was just in the gutter and Auburn just dominated. But Alabama has to win this Saturday and the next one to be 10-10 over the last 20 Iron Bowls.
And they don't realize too. They've been more of a thorn in Saban's side than probably any other team we've faced.
Yeah, and what is he, 500 against Auburn?
I think so.
500 against Auburn. It's one of those rivalry games. You just can't dominate somebody for some reason. But Auburn, they always have those teams that pop up out of nowhere those seasons and surprise you. But I'm with you. The Tide take the Iron Bowl this year. Game 10, you got number 7 LSU at number 22 Texas A&M, 6:30 p.m. SEC Network. Texas A&M is minus 2.5 over the number 7 Tigers at home.
this was a game I went back and forth on, and it finally just came down to I was going to go with the home team. I think these are very evenly matched teams, and I think just being at home is going to be the deciding factor. So I'm going with the Aggies.
Oh, it should be a good game. A&M, they avoided that upset against BYU, UAB last week, very easily, obviously. A&M, they've been so up and down as of late, or as the season has progressed. LSU, you pretty much know what you're going to get, except for obviously that Alabama game where they got shut out. But I like LSU. I don't think they should be ranked 7th. They should be ahead of some of the teams they're ahead of. But I'm going to take LSU on the road at A&M. A&M has looked good at times, but at other times they've just looked like a team I can't trust. So I'm going to go with the LSU Tigers to beat the Aggies. Game 11, you got number 3 Notre Dame on the road at USC, 7 p.m. kickoff on ABC. This is the last hurdle for Notre Dame. They win, they're in. So, and they are minus 11 on the road at USC.
And I know my Alabama fans aren't going to like this, and I don't particularly care for it either, but I'm going to say it. They are in. They will win this game.
Yeah, that's pretty much all you have to say. USC has been a dumpster fire this year. I think they'll be looking for a new coach in the offseason. And the Irish, they're playing too good. Last week, they really flexed some muscle against Syracuse, just absolutely beat the dog's snot out of them in those ugly pinstripe uniforms. And the Irish, I'm going to go ahead and give you a playoff spot now. I say Notre Dame's in the playoffs. That's all they got to do is win Saturday and then sit back and relax. And I think they do that. Game 12, BYU, we've seen them spring an upset against the top 5 team already this year. At number 17, Utah, 9 p.m. kickoff on Fox Sports 1. Utah is minus 12 at home over the Cougars.
One of these late night games, I'm sure the Utah fans will be up watching the BYU folks. That'll be about it. But I'm going to go with Utah on this one.
Yeah, Utah is too strong. They're playing too well for the Cougars. The Cougars had their big moment earlier in the season, and that's come and gone. They're sitting at 6-5 now. I think they're 6-6 after Saturday. Give me the Utes to take down the BYU Cougars. Game 13 is a top 25 matchup that many people probably aren't going to even care to even look at, but I saw it, so thought we had to pick it here. Number 21 Utah State at number 23 Boise State. 9:15 p.m. kickoff time on ESPN. Boise State is minus 2.5 at home over the Aggies.
Another one of those games that kind of a coin toss, and I just made my pick based on the home team, and I think that does mean something in these type of games. So I'm going to go with Boise State.
Especially with the blue turf.
Yeah.
Boise State at home. They have a brand. Everybody knows who Boise State is now.
Right.
Utah State, nobody really. Utah State, they have a team. Some people might think that, but blue turf, I think, gets the job done alone for Boise State. Should be a good game, but Utah State had to get the win last week on a untimed down against a team that was 3-7 at the time. So I like the way Boise State's playing better than Utah State right now. Give me the Broncos to get the win over the Utah State Aggies. But that is all 13 games for Rivalry Week that I had for us to pick. I wish we could pick all of them, but you just don't have the time. We just don't have the time to do that. It would take too long and too much time. But that is it. Go ahead and let us know what you're looking for out of Rivalry Week down in the comments. Leave a big thumbs up, share the content, and subscribe to the channel. But we will see you next week for Championship Week, but it should be on Friday on the regular day since we have no holidays or anything getting in the way of us being able to do this right here. But this has been Spittin' Sports with Lamar. I am Casey Lamar. That is David Mize. We look forward to seeing you guys next week.
Roll Tide, everybody.
Roll Tide it is.